In the heart of a bustling city, hidden beneath layers of ordinary days, lived a young man named Elias. To many, he appeared no different from anyone else, working long hours, struggling to pay bills, and carrying the quiet weight of disappointment in his eyes. Yet deep inside, Elias knew there was something more to his life, something he could not quite explain. For years he had felt set apart, though the reasons were unclear. Friends came and went, jobs slipped through his fingers, and opportunities seemed to vanish just as quickly as they appeared. Often, when Elias prayed late at night, a whisper stirred in his spirit, "You are chosen." But chosen for what? He did not know. The years had been hard. Elias experienced lack in nearly every form: financial struggles, broken relationships, and loneliness. At times, he felt as though he was being crushed under an invisible weight. He remembered nights when he had nothing but a few coins in his pocket and tears in his eyes. "Lord," he cried, "why have you set me apart only to let me suffer?" But heaven seemed silent. The silence was not absence, it was testing. In those lonely nights, God was shaping him, stripping away pride, preparing his heart to carry a weight far greater than money, the weight of responsibility and divine purpose. Like Israel wandering in the wilderness, Elias was walking through a season of refining. One morning, as sunlight streamed into his small apartment, Elias felt something shift. Not in the air around him, but in his spirit. A deep impression came upon him. A transfer is coming. Pay attention. At first, he did not understand, but as days passed, that inner voice grew louder. It spoke not of mere money, but of abundance in every form: resources, wisdom, influence, and faith. It was a call to step out of survival and into stewardship. Elias realized this was not just about him. It was about becoming a vessel through which God could bless others. Wealth without purpose fades, but wealth tied to divine mission creates eternal impact. Elias began to learn that what was unfolding was a billionaire shift, not merely in the sense of earthly riches, but a spiritual and generational transformation. God was raising up his chosen ones, ordinary people like Elias, equipping them with extraordinary resources to influence nations, heal communities, and establish legacies that would echo for generations. This shift required more than desire. It demanded preparation. Elias knew he had to release his old mindset of lack and embrace faith in God's limitless provision. He had to let go of fear, doubt, and the voices that told him he was unworthy. "Lord," he prayed one night, "if this is your will, prepare me. Teach me to carry wealth with wisdom, not pride. Show me how to use blessings for your glory, not my own comfort." One of Elias's greatest battles was against the mindset of scarcity. For years, lack had trained him to believe there was never enough money, never enough time, never enough opportunities. But slowly, God began to renew his thoughts. Elias saw that the God who multiplied loaves and fishes could multiply his resources too. The same God who turned shepherds into kings could transform him into a steward of nations. He started declaring words of faith over his life. "I am chosen. I am provided for. I am entrusted with abundance for a purpose." Each declaration broke another chain of fear. As Elias shifted his mindset, opportunities began to appear. A business idea that had long been buried resurfaced in his mind. At first, he doubted, "Who am I to succeed?" But the Spirit reminded him, "It is not by your strength, but by my power." He stepped out in faith, starting small, but with excellence. Doors opened where once they were shut. People came into his life who believed in his vision. Little by little, the pieces of a greater puzzle began to form. Elias realized that this was the beginning of the billionaire shift. Not sudden riches, but a divine alignment where faith, purpose, and provision met. As his life began to change, Elias made a covenant with God. "Whatever you place in my hands, I will use for your kingdom." He helped families in need, supported ministries, and mentored young people who felt hopeless. He discovered that true wealth was not measured by numbers in a bank account, but by the lives transformed through generosity and faith. The more he gave, the more he received, not only in material blessings, but in wisdom, peace, and joy. Yet in the midst of blessing, Elias remained alert. He knew this shift came with a warning: not to fall into pride, not to chase riches for their own sake, and not to forget the one who gave it all. He often remembered the words whispered to his spirit, "Pay attention." For the enemy would try to use greed, fear, or distraction to derail the chosen ones. But Elias chose to guard his heart. His wealth would never own him. Instead, he would own it and use it for good. Years later, Elias stood not just as a man of means, but as a man of influence. Communities were rebuilt because of his investments. Schools stood where poverty once reigned. Families knew hope because one man obeyed the call. He realized that the billionaire shift was never about him alone. It was about generations yet to come. His children and grandchildren would inherit not just money, but faith, wisdom, and a legacy of service. The story of Elias is not unique. Across the world, God is calling his chosen ones to step into this same shift. It is a movement of faith, abundance, and divine stewardship. You may feel unworthy, tested, or overlooked, but know this: seasons of lack are preparation for seasons of overflow. What you endure in secret will one day manifest in public breakthrough. The billionaire shift is not simply about becoming rich, it is about becoming responsible stewards of heaven's resources. It is about feeding the hungry, healing the broken, spreading truth, and leaving behind a legacy that cannot be erased. God is warning his chosen. Pay attention. The time is now. And so, like Elias, you are invited to step into the shift, release the fear, embrace the abundance. Walk boldly in your calling, for the billionaire shift is not coming, it is already here.